Each fall, our junior class takes the PSAT NMSQT. In this presentation, we'll be reviewing the score report to help you make sense of the information. The PSAT NMSQT is part of a suite of assessments that the College Board SAT puts out. The PSAT 8-9, of course, we give to our ninth graders, the PSAT NMSQT for our juniors, and of course the actual SAT, which is used to try to get into college. These tests measure the same skills and knowledge in grade-appropriate ways. They tend to work together to show college readiness over time, and that allows students and parents and even us as educators to kind of monitor student progress. The content reflects the kind of meaningful, engaging, and challenging work that students find in the best middle and high school courses taught today. So we're going to walk through the report so you understand each of the parts and gain or glean what information you can to help your student be ready for the future. Now, the PSAT measures skills and knowledge that research shows are the most important for success in college and career. The reading test measures comprehension and reasoning skills and focuses on close reading of passages in a wide array of subject areas. The writing and language test measures a range of skills that includes command of evidence, expression of ideas, and the use of standard English conventions in grammar and punctuation. The math test covers a range of math practices with an emphasis on problem solving, modeling, using tools strategically, and using algebraic structure. Now, how's the PSAT NMSQT scored? Well, students receive a total score that is based on the sum of their scores on the two sections of evidence-based reading and writing and math. To calculate section scores, they first compute the student's raw score. That's the number of questions correctly answered for each section. Nothing's deducted for incorrect answers or for unanswered questions, so there's no penalty there. Then they convert each of the raw math scores to a scaled section score of 160 to 760. They also convert each of the raw reading scores and the raw writing and language scores to scaled test scores of 8 to 38, and then combine these to produce evidence-based reading and writing section scores of 160 to 760. Now, this conversion process adjusts for slight differences in difficulty among versions of the test and provides a score that is consistent across different versions. The scaled scores are the scores provided on the score reports. Now, we'll walk through this score report page at a time so you understand what each of the 4 pages communicates. The total score is the sum of the two section scores. Its range is 320 to 1,520. Now, you'll notice in our example on the screen that the sample student scored a 960. Now, that placed her in the 51st percentile. Now, that simply means that she scored as well or better than 51% of a nationally representative group of juniors. Your students receive scores in the range of 160 to 760 for each of 2 sections. The evidence-based reading and writing section score combines the scores for the reading test and the writing and language test. The math section scores derived from the math test score, including the calculator and no calculator portions. Now, you'll notice that there are benchmarks laid out below each of these scores. They're on a color-coded scale, red, yellow, green. The red means you do not yet or have not yet achieved the benchmark for college readiness. The yellow shows that you're approaching it, and the green is that you've already achieved it and proven you are college ready in this subject area. Now, you'll notice in our sample student, I'm a B student. In her evidence-based reading and writing score, she scored a 430, and her math score is a 530. Now, in evidence-based reading and writing, her score is approaching the benchmark, but she's not quite on track for college readiness. In math, however, Ima is exceeding the benchmark and is on track. Test scores, cross-test scores, and sub-scores can give Ima a better understanding of areas to work on. Keep in mind that looking at these scores needs to be viewed more in the idea of a range of scores than a hard and fast score. A student's ability is better represented by the score ranges than actual points. Score ranges are derived from the standard error of measurement and show how much a student's scores would likely vary if they took a different administration of the test under identical conditions. From the more recent administrations of the PSAT, these ranges are appropriately for the total. It should be looked at as a plus or minus 40 points. For sections, plus or minus 30 points. For test scores, subscores, and the cross-test scores you'll see online is a plus or minus 2 points. So keep that in mind as you look at these scores. Before we leave this page, let me draw your attention to IMA's percentiles. Since IMA is in the 11th grade, the percentiles compare her scores with those of all 11th graders in the nation. She scored as well or better in evidence-based reading and writing than 31% of a nationally representative group of juniors. In math, she scored as well or better than 69% of a nationally representative group of juniors. There are additional percentiles available in the online score report, which will give you a little more information. Notice the individual test scores. The range for the following test scores is 8 through 38. That's for reading, writing and language, and math. Now, once you get to your online score report, the range for cross-test scores is also measured from 8 to 38. Now, these are scores that will represent the student's performance on select questions across the 3 tests and show a student's strengths in analysis in history and social studies and analysis in science. So once you get online, you'll see a little more information that will be a help to you. All right, so how do you see your online report? You can visit psat.org/myscore to see the full score report. It'll also give you information on how to prepare for the SAT and see the potential for your student to do AP coursework, should that be an option. This brings us to the next page of the score report, your path tomorrow. All right, let's look at our example student, Ima. Now, when Ima accesses her full score report at psat.org/myscore, she'll also be able to see her potential for AP coursework. She'll be able to learn more about scholarship opportunities and connect to free personalized practice on Khan Academy. Now, will she be able to enter the National Merit Scholarship Program? That's, of course, what the NMSQT stands for, National Merit Scholarship Qualification Test. Now, she has an NMSC selection index of a 139, which is double the sum of her reading test at a 23 and writing and language test at a 20 and math test 26.5 scores. This selection index score is used by National Merit Scholarship Corporation to designate students to be recognized in its National Merit Scholarship Program. Now, if an asterisk has appeared next to Ima's score, it would mean that she didn't meet the entry requirements for the program, or her score was provided for guidance purposes only and would not be considered in the National Merit Scholarship. Now, in this case, Ima meets entry requirements and will be recognized if her score places among the 50,000 high scores. For entry requirements and information on the steps in the competition, you can see the PSAT NMSQT student guide online, or just visit nationalmerit.org. Since one of the main purposes of the PSAT NMSQT is to prepare for the actual SAT, as a junior, how should your student be planning when he or she will take the SAT? Well, most students take the SAT for the first time in their junior year, at the end of their junior year, which has been somewhat problematic this year because of our situation. But by planning now, a student can ensure that they have adequate time to practice for the SAT. You can take advantage of the practice resources by visiting psat.org/myscore. This brings us to one of the most valuable parts of the score report, the back page. On the back page, you actually see a record of all of your answers on the PSAT and whether or not they were correct. You also get the correct answers as well. So it's really valuable. Let's break this down. Now, looking at our sample student, Ima, using her score report with her PSAT NMSQT test booklet, She can see the actual questions, correct answers, and difficulty level alongside her own answers. Now, this is true of your student as well. We did supply the test booklet when we gave you the test results. You can use your online score report to review the questions that you answered incorrectly or omitted and to see detailed answer explanations. And this is great because as you go through this, if you see, oh, I answered this question incorrectly, well, let me go back and see what the test question was. Now, sometimes you'll find that you just misread the question. Sometimes you'll find the question does ask or assume information that you are not very clear on. So you'll know what you need to go back and study and look at in order to improve your scores in the future and moving forward. And the difficulty level is helpful as well. If you find that most of your incorrect answers were the high difficulty, well, that's not surprising. But if something is on the easier side and you missed it, that definitely needs some attention because that may mean there's some basic core concepts that you don't have nailed down correctly. All right, so there's a brief rundown of your summary score report for PSAT NMSQT. Feel free to review this video if you need to go back and take a look at things again, understand things better. And of course, remember to go online to psat.org/myscore using the login information that's provided on the front of the score report. Thank you for watching. I hope this presentation was a help to you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen.